Hi guys, welcome to Therapy Tuesdays. Just waiting for our guests to log in. How are you doing today? Welcome to Therapy Tuesday, Jamaica. And we're just waiting for our guests to join in. Hey Rachel, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Just push this back.
Okay, great.
Okay.
Okay, it seems that there might be a little bit of a delay,
Okay.
but we'll make it work.
Okay.
We'll make it work. Welcome guys to Therapy Tuesdays again with Art Therapy Jamaica. I am your host. I sound like a radio TV person. I'm your host, Lesli-Ann Belnavis Elliott, registered art therapist. And for those who this might be your first time, you might be wondering, what is art therapy? So art therapy is a mental health profession that uses art and psychology to help persons of all ages express difficult emotions or reframe these emotions in a creative way. So today we have our guest, Miss Rachel Khan. Did I say your full name, Rachel?
Actually now Rachel Emery.
Okay. So it's Rachel Emery. I'm welcoming her. I'm just gonna add this, Rachel, because I'll get caught up. Just gonna post this so everybody just pinning knows what today's topic is. So we have Rachel Khan now Emery on, and I'm excited about today. So Rachel, before we get started, I just want to do a check-in activity. And for newer guests, it's just kind of highlighting a little bit of what may happen in a therapeutic session, that we try to encourage consistency with our clients, or encourage some persons have trouble with transitioning or starting or ending something, or they need to continue the therapeutic process. So our check-in activity is, you are to think of a color, shape, sound, or movement showing how you feel. It can be one or a combination. You need me to repeat that?
No, I'm good. I was gonna say color, but then I think the color that came to mind is just my favorite color, so I don't want to use that.
Okay.
So I think that's how I feel. Yeah, I think that's how I'm feeling. You know, it's the end of the day. I've been looking forward to doing this with you. And I think that's a good movement and sound for me. We're here doing.
Okay, I love that. And our viewers can feel free to send an emoji or write a word or say what color, how they're feeling as they're checking. My own, anytime I'm with the guests, my feelings change, but I think just with what's been happening in the world and just in our society right now, I have a mixture of emotions. And so my emotions would look like red, black, gray, purple, orange. Rachel's face. It's just a mixture of all of those things. But then I almost want to to center myself, do the activity that I learned from Georgia last week, called the butterfly hug. Okay. So the colors that I described was really feelings of like anger, just rage, just sadness, just everything with what's happening, and then just wanting to kind of take a breath and just like breathe and butterfly hug myself, just to calm. So similar to you. Say that again, Rachel.
I'll have to try that one.
Yeah, she just kind of like, it's hard for me to do it, but she formed her hands like a butterfly. Or if you can't, I guess, yeah, the closest, and you just kind of tap. Mm-hmm. You close your eyes and you breathe in and out. In and out. And this is actually good for what we're going to talk about today in terms of persons with special needs and persons being having needing sensory regulation and stuff as well. So that's a good activity to do. So all right, folks, we have Miss Rachel Emery, and she is a special education teacher and autism specialist, a strong advocate of the least restrictive environment and functional education. She trained as an early childhood educator and special education teacher at Shortwood Teachers College, and Michael University College is where she received her Bachelor of Education and an honors degree in assessment, evaluation, and instructional planning. Woo, Rachel. She also has her Master's of Science degree in Autism Studies from Missouri Western State University, and a certification in sexuality education, which I know we're gonna also talk about a little bit later, from the University of Michigan. So I highlighted some of the things about you, Rachel. Is there anything else that you can add and tell us about who you are and what you do?
Sorry, my doorbell was ringing. So I'm the founder of a learning center called I Can Help. So we're a small learning center at this point in time. We're a small learning center, and we cater to kids with special needs and various disabilities who have mild to moderate learning challenges. I'm also the founder of I Can Swim, so I teach swimming. So I'm the instructor for that as well. And those are the other two things that you hadn't said. So that's what I currently do.
Okay. Can you tell us a little bit more about the students that you see at I Can Help?
Okay, so most of the students that I have at I Can Help have some kind of mild to moderate intellectual disability or learning challenge. So that means I have those who would have, let's say, a mild to moderate learning challenge. So maybe they're a year or two behind. But then I have those with mild to moderate who have intellectual disabilities, right? Who are maybe 3 or more, and possibly as much as 6 years behind their peers.
Okay, and when you say behind, are you talking chronologically behind or developmentally behind?
Development.
You said Okay. Okay, you were gonna say something else before.
I was going to say, so, we have kids with autism, we have kids with Down syndrome, and we also have children who are hearing impaired, but who would have a cochlear implant.
Okay.
So small D they're the small, they use a small D to say deaf for that community. You have the big D.
Okay. What's the difference between the two?
Individuals with cochlear implants, they promote speech and verbal, while those who don't have a cochlear implant, my cat has joined us. The ones with the other individuals who are deaf, they use sign to speak, and they don't promote or taught necessarily to use their voice.
Okay, got it. So I hope our viewers get the difference between the two. So when we talk about, and what's the age range of your students? Or do you see adults?
We see like young adults. So our oldest at this point in time would be about 19. So we take on their cognitive abilities and development. Okay.
So Rachel, can you tell us what exactly, I think you kind of defined it a little bit, what exactly does special needs mean? Is that like one thing, or is that an umbrella of
special? There's so many individuals that can be categorized as special needs, and how I would say is that it's the amount of support that an individual might need, whether it's academic support, behavioral support, social emotional support, physical support, so across the domains. So if you need more support to help you to show your true potential, show your ability to do something, or maybe you're not at the same level as your peers, then we could say that you need support, that you have a special need. So you find that, for example, individuals who have learning disabilities, who go to schools, they need more accommodations. Let's say accommodations.
Okay.
Who has physical disabilities, but cognitively they're at the same developmental age as their peers. They may need accommodation to help showcase what they know. So it's not a case where they cannot keep up with their same age peers, but maybe if somebody who can't write, they need a scribe. If it's someone who doesn't read well, understand the information, a reader, someone to read to them, versus somebody who is more moderate to severe with special needs, who needs modifications. So modifications, changing content altogether. They're not able to do the same content as people, as other kids or adults or young adults who are their age. So
so is that, when you say like content, is it that they're the words, or say it's English that you're doing, or language, is it that you're adapting the words, or it's no longer sentences, it's maybe lettering for them, or
it could be sentences from they are not able to do whatever the general class is doing, you would say, okay, I need to provide a modification. And a comment would be, they can do it, but maybe they can't read it, but they understand it. They can perform whatever the task is, but maybe they just have a difficulty reading. That would maybe be an accommodation versus having to change it completely, which would be a modification. So I would say especially any kind of support you would need. And then
what about
spectrum?
Okay, what about if it is a nonverbal, or a student or individual who is nonverbal?
Okay, so with nonverbal individuals, so right now, being nonverbal does not determine your level of cognitive ability. However, in Jamaica, we don't have the kind of resources and support for people who are nonverbal, whether it's speech devices, whether it's a picture exchange system. We don't have those kind of supports. And then people who are able to use supports in mainstream class, which one is that? Those are some pets. Right. So, and then even, in the special ed community, there's not that practice or experience or knowledge about it. Oh, that's picture exchange, we use pictures. People know about speech generated devices, but the whole kind of teaching how to use it, and people to really be fluent in it. So, you have to be fluent in whatever medium you're asking the children to be fluent in. If you expect them to be fluent in it, if you're talking, if you're speaking, let's go to a verbal child, and let's say you speak with a lot of gaps. So the cat is black and white, and and if you speak like that, just naturally, that's how a child would think, that's how a child would speak. That's what. So in using a speech generated device or PECs, you also have to be fluent in it if you want the child to be fluent in it.
I love that you talked about the PECs, and the reason why I also brought up nonverbal, and I love what you said, that if a child or an individual is nonverbal in their communication, it's not an indicator of their cognitive ability. And I've seen that because, working with persons and children with disabilities is one of my babies. I have seen a lot of reactions to. I mean, I've gone into a space where it was children and adults who had a range of disabilities, and they were just in a room by themselves. There was nothing to stimulate them. There's no art. There's no activities. There's no form of education to stimulate them. And what I've also seen is that I will do an activity about something, and caregivers may come back to me and be like, but me never know them could understand this because there wasn't language. But non-verbal does not mean that you don't understand what's happening. You don't receive. You can still see, you can still hear, you can still feel. It's just that the way in which you would output your information is different than the common way of how we would output our information, right?
Yeah, you're so right. And I think, sometimes in terms of engaging kids with special needs, whether verbal or nonverbal, I think, as professionals, parents, teachers, they would come to me or come to you, and, sometimes I'm like, okay, I don't know all the answers. I don't know all the activities you can do. And honestly, a lot of it is trial and error. A lot of it providing activities, seeing which one works, seeing which one doesn't work, and just having a lot of time to explore different activities. And sometimes where I think this is tricky is that we have some kids, parents would say, oh, well, or a teacher would say, all they like to do is their stimming or their repetitive behavior. And I was like, okay. And even when you're developing a reward system, you have to what the child would work for, right? And it can be tricky if the child engages in a lot of repetitive behaviors. So you have to try and find a reward or an activity that gives that same kind of sensation or feeling, or as the repetitive give. So, for example, if you have a kid that likes to just pour out water or stare at water being poured, because you have kids like that, right? It could be that maybe their niche or their activity would be making lava lamps. I'm just saying, like something else, like they could explore all the different types of lava lamps that they could make. If it's a kid, they're tearers, they like to pluck and tear. Maybe you need to go into making mosaics, or you need to go into etching, or you need to, some kind of, all the art kind of
Yes.
But like something that involves a lot of maybe tearing and in a way kind of destroying to make something.
Yes. Yeah.
And so we have to look kind of what kind of activity would fulfill this feeling that they're getting from this. And it's finding replacement activities and behaviors that I think are so difficult. Even for professionals, finding something that's really appropriate and constructive and productive that fulfills this.
Speaking of activities, which goes into the meat of, I know we started getting into it, and that's fine. The meat of the focus for today, which is facilitating functional life skills for persons with special needs. And you were talking about activities. One of the things that came up for me, and I know I've spoken to professionals about it, that during this time of COVID, I know we're like in the midst of transitioning back into kind of some sense of normalcy, and I say that with air marks. The population of persons with special needs have not fully been met because everything has been transitioned online. So what are some functional life skills that can be done with persons with special needs? First off, what exactly do we mean by functional life skills?
All right, so functional life skills range from your very basic to your more advanced. So a functional life skill could be using the bathroom and wiping your bottom, right? That's a basic one. And it could be as advanced to using an ATM, right? So
Mm.
making bed, cooking food, hygiene things, budgeting things, money things, things like that. So it ranges, right? How I like to say is, if you think about all the things you do, maybe 2 or 3 days a week, just outline all the things you would do. So brush teeth, shower, wipe your butt, cook, make a grocery list, budget some money, lodge some money, take out some money,
Take out the garbage.
take out the garbage, make the bed, fold the clothes, wash the clothes, brush your hair. Those are all life skills that I think we often take for granted, that our kids will learn through osmosis. And
Yes.
our kids don't learn things through osmosis. And some people would say, oh, well, my kid watches YouTube and they can do this after watching YouTube. And that's true, but how many videos do you have of people wiping their bottom and making a grocery list and doing things like that on YouTube? They wouldn't see it enough, right, to
No.
even start to model it. So I think in terms of this in COVID right now, if you are not getting online, school, or if your kid is not someone that suits online, there is like a plethora of life skills that you could do with your kid, right? Think of one activity, let's say it's brushing your teeth, and one day brush your teeth and think of all the steps. And what you would do is that first step, that would be your goal for the week. Just doing that first step,
Mm-hmm.
the toothpaste on the toothbrush. And you could do it multiple times throughout the day. It doesn't have to be a long thing, and if this is something we do, during COVID and after, by the time our child is 18, you're not going to turn around and say, they didn't know how to microwave. How did they not know how to use a toaster?
Mm-hmm.
Because sometimes that becomes an adult and you're just like, how do they not know how to make the bed yet?
Well, I think with that too, a piece of that could be that parents may underestimate the level or ability of their child with a disability, how much independence they can give them, and the importance of the life skill, just as you said, simply knowing that, oh, I need to take the garbage out, and teaching them that. And they may, whether they can say it or not, they know it. Like, if I share a personal story, I lived with a relative who was nonverbal or had limited language, and we don't know if they were officially on the autistic spectrum or had autism. It's just one of those weird diagnoses. Either way, every Thursday he would know that he should put on his red shirt, which meant it was strawberry day for field trip to the strawberry fields. He knew that. Or one day I went out and I took out the wrong garbage bin, and he was like, in his own language, he's like, foo-foo. And he took the right one out to say to me, today's recycling day. This is the garbage bin that needs to go out. And those are, I am hearing, I can understand, or what people would say, oh, functioning. But he was nonverbal, but he knew that life skill of, this week is recycle garbage day. So, and that's major. As simple as it sounds, I think I think part of it is parents they might have a fear around, giving their child that kind of sense of independence, or knowing what levels.
I think also, EC, I don't know how old that individual was. Repetition plays such a huge part in things. And, sometimes we work so hard, parents, teachers, therapists, they work so hard at gaining a skill. And they've gained it. They've got it now. All right, we're moving on. And then they don't practice that skill and they don't maintain it. And then a few weeks later, maybe a month later, whatever the skill was, all right, come do this. And the child is like fumbling over it or doesn't know what to do. And then, the child's going to get frustrated and say, you are getting frustrated as a teacher, parent, or and you're like, but you learned this already. This is something you've done. But it's because you've taught the skill now, but what about maintaining it? What about repeating it and doing it over and over
Yeah.
so they don't forget? And it's like, I knew how to do trigonometry in high school. I knew how to do cosine and all those fancy things on the calculator. God help me now. I can't do that now. I wouldn't know how to do that or algebra or any of those things now because I did not maintain the skill, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's the same. I think you could put that in any situation. It's just like driving somewhere. If I haven't driven somewhere for a long time, I'm not going to drive there in the night because I don't remember where I'm going. I just don't remember where I'm going, right? So I did not
Mm-hmm.
make skill. And we can put that to so many different situations. So I think that's something too. We teach a skill, but then we don't maintain it.
So what is a way for persons to maintain keeping that routine and in a fun way? Because I know that for me, when I worked with children with disabilities, there were like a set of art therapy activities that I will go back to.
Mm-hmm.
After a while, sometimes I'll be like, okay, should we do this again? But that's what they needed. So what are some fun ways to make the routine not feel for parents, and leisure, I know, is important as well.
Right. Well, I think with some of the things, I think kids with special needs are just like us. So, like making the bed, maybe your child doesn't like making the bed. Maybe if you took them to go buy their own set of sheets and maybe they choose which sheets they're going to make, maybe it would be better. Okay, we're going to make this week, it's going to be the blue, it can be the star ones, and so make them more involved in the process, not just a go to this, but maybe some more choice. I think that
Yes.
we don't do enough. We give them more choice. If it's a case where they're making the grocery list, of course there are some things that we always have in their pantry, but maybe they can add and say, okay, which ones are we going to put, which ones do you want to put. If it's little things like that, I think giving them choice definitely makes a difference in them wanting to do things, giving them that responsibility, giving them choice, giving them that kind of independence. Because what you find is that when our individuals with special needs, like moderate to severe, sometimes people tend to look at them as a child in a big person's body, which that's
Yes.
they see them like a child in a big person's body, but there are certain things that they are big people in. There are certain things that they see that they know that they're a big person. When it comes to sexuality, those feelings do not stay little. Those feelings grow.
No.
So, sexuality does not stay little.